We're talking with Rosie Johnson on President Trump's first 100 days on this special Friday edition of TrendChat. Another episode of Trend Chat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. Appreciate you everyone to listening in right now. And if you want to connect with us on social media, if you listen to this program more than once, you should know by now. But if this is your first time listening in, you can always go to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And the name is all the same, Trend Chat 24/7. So, yesterday, we talked with Wade Miller about President Trump's first 100 days. And today, we talk with Rosie Johnson with Silence is Consent. And we talk, even more about President Trump and far as what he has done so far. And she actually has another perspective in as far as comparing with President Obama's first 100 days. So hope everyone would have enjoyed that interview. And actually, like I said, today is a special Friday edition of Trend Chat. But if you are listening on Friday, I am actually at the NRA convention. And as of who knows, at the time you're listening to this on a Friday, if it is, that I probably am doing some interviews for Trend Chat next week. So I'll know exactly how many days we'll be on next week, depending on the interviews. Well, we have some confirmed to interview, others that are not confirmed. We have one or two in particular that I really hope I get to interview, and you'll know who it is if I told you who. And so, but I want to wait till I actually get the interview, and then I'll definitely share it then. But hope that happens. And like I said, at this time, who knows what I'm doing on Friday. So also just want to mention that I write for Politichicks, and if you like to read some of my articles, you can just go to politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. And Politichicks they are on a book tour right now for the new book, Politichicks: A Clarion Call to Political Activism. And one of my articles is actually featured in the book, talking about my journey to become a national delegate in Cleveland last year. So you can go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble to pick that up. I encourage everyone to pick it up. And it's funny because speaking about being at the NRA convention, it shouldn't be hard. I should be hard to find, given the shirt I'll be wearing, because I'm wearing a Trend Chat shirt, black Trend Chat shirt. But on the back of the shirt, it has the Politichicks book, the cover, and like a code on the back that people can scan with their phones to go straight to Amazon to get the book. So as of right now, hopefully, there'll be like 80,000 people. Each one of the people there, everyone should buy one copy, get 80,000 copies sold because of my shirt. So that'd be awesome. But that being said, I definitely want to get straight into an interview with Rosie Johnson. And like I said before, we basically just talked about President Trump's first 100 days. And here's my interview with Rosie. Hello, this is TrendChat. This is your host, Brian Bledsoe. And I am pleased to have a good friend of mine, Rosie Johnson. You can find her on Rosie on the Right on Facebook and Twitter. And she's a contributor writer for silenceaccent.net. Hello, Rosie. How are you doing?
Hi. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to bring you on. I wanted to talk to my friends and people who are in the know and just want to see what their opinions are of President Trump's first 100 days. So what's your opinion?
Okay. Well, the first thing that I would do in judging President Trump's first 100 days is I really need to go back and look at other presidents' first 100 days. And the most recent past president is President Obama. So he accomplished quite a few things on his first 100 days. In Obama's first 100 days, he reversed President Bush's ban on fetal human stem cell research. So that was, to the consternation of conservatives everywhere who are against this. This is something that Obama was able to reverse, and it's still in place. He also got Supreme Court Justice Kagan confirmed to the Supreme Court, and he did that pretty much with bipartisan support. It wasn't the way that President Trump's Supreme Court justice was received. So Democrats always stick together, and Republicans follow along, whereas Republicans don't stick together. That's my view on that. Obama also passed that $787 billion America Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which it was supposed to spur on the economic growth during the recession or right after the recession. It's also known as the stimulus package, which actually did not stimulate the economy. But he also signed an executive order to close Guantanamo Bay. But luckily, he never did truly close it because he saw that there are a lot of terrorists that still needed a place to be housed. So common sense prevailed there. But those were some pretty important pieces of legislation that he was able to pass with Republican support. So when I look at Trump's first 100 days, I just, what I have to look at is the rules that he was able to kill, that Obama wrote, the things that Obama said that he was able to get rid of. So he's been doing that through executive orders, and we really, I have to say that he diminished President Obama's legacy in doing that. Now, I'm not happy that they have not done anything about Obama's signature health care law. That's still up and running, status quo. So that will, that needs to be seen what's going to happen with that. I think that his most important achievement was the nomination and confirmation of his Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch. I probably butchered that name, but as a conservative, that was my key issue. Not just the wall. Yes, I wanted the wall, but for me, if President Trump does nothing else but get Supreme Court justices confirmed to the Supreme Court who are conservative or who follow the Constitution to the letter, he'll have accomplished more than any other president. And I believe there will be a couple of more justices who will either retire or pass in the next 4 years, because there's a lot of elderly justices. So that would be a great accomplishment.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Supreme Court justice. You're talking about people that are going to be on the bench for, maybe 30, 40 some odd years. So that's definitely going to be a legacy. And also, and kind of what you were saying as far as having bipartisan support with Kagan and other things as far as during the Obama administration, it just shows that Republicans are more apt to go along with the Democrats, and definitely not vice versa. It doesn't happen the other way around.
Right, that's right. I also looked up, knowing I was having a conversation with you, I went online, I just checked, to see, well, how much has President Trump actually done? And the Washington Post fact-checker actually states that President Trump has signed 28 bills into office, and that's the highest since 1949, because Roosevelt had signed 76 bills in 1933. So 28 bills is a lot. Now, when I looked to the bills that he signed, they were bills that we would think as everyday citizens are inconsequential, but are at some consequence to the country. There are joint resolutions providing for the appointments of judges and citizen regents to the Board of Regents of the Smithsonian Institute. I don't know if that was a mouthful. If you all understood what I said there, and also an act to amend the Veterans Access. That was an important piece of legislation that he signed. That was on April 19th, just not long ago. And it's an Accountability Act to modify the termination date for Veterans Choice Program. So he signed quite a few bills. They're just not the kinds of things that he talked about during his run for presidency. He's also signed 24 executive orders and 22 presidential memorandums, and he's signed 20 proclamations. And so basically, most of those are having to do with getting rid of President Obama's executive orders. So he'd write an executive order, and Obama wrote an executive order, and the President Trump writes an executive order to counter that executive order. That's not my favorite way to get things done. However, it does prove that, he probably said to himself, I'm going to get these things done one way or the other. And I hope that he will ignore the judges, the lower court judges who are ruling against him on immigration and the border wall and other things. Most recently, the border wall. That's just what happened just recently. Some judge in the Ninth Circuit Court ruled against him regarding sanctuary cities, saying that he cannot take funding away from sanctuary cities. It's just nonsense. And 89% of the American people want to stop sanctuary cities, and they want the border wall built. Something like 60% of the people want the border wall built, and 89% of the people want to stop sanctuary cities. So I think that he could win that in the court of public opinion if he really starts to talk about that. And people like us need to start to talk about that.
I mentioned on Tuesday's podcast that when talking about the Ninth Circuit blocking the executive order on sanctuary cities, I was saying that, even a couple of 2 months ago, that even though I like where President Trump is going as far as setting the tone with these executive orders, but it's up to Congress to make law, and I feel like this is kind of showing that where Congress need to step up and make law on a lot of these orders as opposed to just relying on these executive orders.
Okay, well, you're right. But the problem that we're facing right now is that we have a bunch of Republicans who are really not, they vote more with Democrats. They're really progressives at heart. They're not conservatives. So there's Republicans who are conservative. That's the Freedom Caucus. And then there's the Republicans who are, they call them the moderates, but they're really 1960 Democrats, you know? They're my mother's Democrats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're in the Republican Party, so they obfuscate what Republicans are trying to do. See, we want to bring back traditional values, and we want to bring back the laws that kept America great and made America thrive. Whereas, and those Republicans, they call them rhinos, Republicans in name only. I'm sure you've heard that term.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah. And so what's happening is we want to keep those people at bay. Unfortunately, there's too many of them and too few of the Freedom Caucus style Republicans. I'm not sorry that the Freedom Caucus stopped the American Health Care Act, Paul Ryan's American Health Care Act, because it was really just sort of a fix for Obamacare. It was a fix, but it didn't fix the issues that we care about. I mean, it didn't change it. It just fixed it so that it was stayed pretty much intact as Obama intended it to be. And don't you know that every year Republicans end up fixing Democrat laws that are poorly written, that are really not going to fly well in the life of Americans? Republicans, they get in the mix and they fix those laws so that it'll work. We probably need to just let those laws fail. And I don't know what the plan is with the Affordable Care Act, but it's about to implode. And Republicans are again worried about being blamed for that. Just like this Friday, we're facing the another continuing resolution, or the government is shut down. I mean, Republicans worry too much about public opinion. They just need to do their job, and they do just fine.
Yeah, and also, it's great that, like, me and you are part of organizations like Heritage Action and being Sentinels and holding Congress accountable for, a lot of these rhinos, basically, that are in Congress.
I'm very excited about what Heritage Action is able to do, and I love the way they keep us informed. I am constantly infused with more and more information from them, and you are too. You're probably on the same calls that I am in.
Yeah.
And they really help you understand the legislation. So it's not just legal speak that goes over your head. They kind of bring it down. They dumb it down for everybody, And then you understand it. Yeah, you can understand it, and you can talk about it, and you can tweet them, and you can really put the pressure on your legislators, representatives. You need to keep the pressure on them for the things that you want as a conservative, because they buckle under the pressure, under Democrat pressure all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of these procedures, a lot of the rules that are put in are basically are in place just to confuse people. I mean, that's how I see it. A lot of times, I just they're just making it very complicated, just so everyday people who have 9-to-5 jobs can't really sit down to analyze it all, because they complicate the process intentionally. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking about complicating the process and confusing people, I want to define the three different authorities that executive orders are written. Remember, I said executive orders, presidential memorandums, and proclamations.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a quick definition, just so I'm not talking over people's heads. Executive orders are the most popular that we know. They're assigned numbers, and they're published in the Federal Register, and they're similar to laws that are passed by the Congress, but they're laws that are passed directly through the President, and typically direct members of the executive branch to follow some new policy or some new directive, and Trump has issued 24 of those. Presidential memorandums don't have to be published or numbered. They can be, and in the past they have, and they usually delegate tasks that Congress has already assigned that Congress has assigned the president to members of the executive branch. So Trump's issued 22 memorandums. So he delegates tasks to the Congress through those memorandums. And then the last one was proclamation. And just like Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, that's a famous one. Mm-hmm. It carries a lot of weight, and most of these proclamations are ceremonial observances or federal holidays or awareness months. That's what you issue in the proclamations, like breast cancer awareness month or something, whatever, and then they start printing them in calendars. That's all those proclamations are, and he's issued 20 of them. But the executive orders and the presidential memorandum, which have been 24 and 22 respectively, so 46, those are actual orders that tells the Congress, change this law, write this law, do this, so it does affect the public, in not such a fluffy way as a proclamation does. So I just thought I don't know if I confused people more or if it made more sense, but I wanted to say that because I talked in a way, like everybody knows what I'm talking about, and I shouldn't do that.
Well, I know later on we're going to have Heritage Action Regional Coordinator Wade Miller on, and he's with Heritage Action, and just I will say to like for all the terms that you just talked about now, if people want to get more, I'm involved with Heritage Action. I definitely encourage everyone to give them a look, and they would definitely help out as far as wanting to know more as far as what's going on in Congress. So, but I definitely I appreciate you coming on and let everyone know exactly where they can find you. I know I mentioned it in the beginning, but I'll let you do it at the end.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, you can find me, my thoughts, my writings on Twitter at Rosie on the Right, one word, or on Facebook, Rosie on the Right, and it's separate words. That's my Facebook page. And silenceofdissent.net is where I write a lot of articles. I also write for Land Buzz. And that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks to Rosie Johnson for joining us. And, I just want to mention as far as when we were talking about President Trump's first 100 days, whether we were talking with Dr. Kelly Ward or Wade Miller or just now with Rosie. And, regardless of, I guess, how you want to grade President Trump's first 100 days, I know one thing. Whatever has happened in the past first 100 days is better than whatever we would have had if we had a President Hillary. So if we were talking about right now, President Hillary Clinton's first 100 days, well, I'm glad I don't have to imagine that, but it's definitely would. If you think about Supreme Court, just think about the cabinet, or like Rosie was mentioning, think about what the executive orders would have been, what the memorandums would have been, what the proclamations would have been, and all of that in the first 100 days of President Hillary Clinton. So, in that sense, I can definitely there's maybe some things I don't like. I mean, obviously, I've talked more than one podcast about my disappointment in the repealing of Obamacare, and that's well known. So I'm definitely disappointed with that. But in the sense, and also, with other things maybe as well. But I'm just thinking about, like, first, as far as the Supreme Court, whether she would have went along with Garland, or or maybe someone even more liberal, and even someone like that to replace Scalia of all people. She would have had a liberal replace Antonin Scalia. So yeah, obviously it could be a whole lot better. And going back and talking about repealing Obamacare, which still need to happen as far as border security and just where we go forward after these 100 days. In the end, it's better than whatever we would have been talking about right now. We were talking about President Clinton first 100 days. And it's funny because I'm here on Friday and I'm at the NRA convention, and President Trump will be speaking on at the leadership forum, and Hillary wouldn't be there for at the NRA convention, at the annual meetings, and I could just imagine the mood at the annual meetings if we were talking about a President Clinton right now as opposed to President Trump. Kind of go back when I was at CPAC was, it's kind of like the feeling that CPAC was like, woo, we dodged the bullet. I just in that sense, that's how I feel about it as far as when it comes to President Trump and trying to grade. Like I guess I haven't gave a grade myself. If I gave a grade on his first 100 days, I would say it's I'll give it a C plus. The Obamacare deal is, obviously, I'm not going to saying that was all on President Trump, but it just in totality, just thinking about just some things. Okay, I said B plus, not B, B minus. It's changing because I just thought about it just now. But yeah, there are some things I weren't a fan of, but the one thing that's kind of sticking out right now is the Obamacare non-repeal, and this, it really feels like, and we mentioned it many times before with guests on here, as far as just having these Republicans who campaigned on repealing Obamacare and all these conservative ideas, and then now you're in the majority and you're just fiddling around, tinkering with the edges of Democrat policies as opposed to just getting rid of them. And it just feels like they approve more of Democrat policies as opposed to their own ideas. Like, we just want to fix Democrat bills and Democrat laws as opposed to having your own. And I feel like some of them pretty much, they are in agreement with the Democrats with a lot of these laws that most conservatives are totally against. So, and kind of like when I was talking with Wade yesterday, talking about you having members of Congress who have a lower scorecard on. Now, Heritage Action have a scorecard, and also Conservative Review has a scorecard as well. And you have, I think one or two members of Congress who have a score in the teens that are lower than Elizabeth Warren and the socialist Bernie Sanders. That is amazing. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, you're a Republican, right? You're a Republican, and yet you score lower on both of these websites like on Conservative Review and Heritage Action, and you score lower than those two, like, why are you even Republican? Like, why don't you just become a Democrat? I mean, what is the point of being a Republican for you, really? And even if you look at the ACU, American Conservative Union, you see like the same people, like they're pretty low, they're in the 20s according to their rating. So anyway, I was just thinking about, as far as overall in general, about President Trump's first 100 days. That, let's think of it I think of it like this: it could be a whole lot worse. I'm pretty sure there's some people probably feeling like, oh well, it's not too much different than Hillary. I can't agree with that. Especially if you factor in not only just Trump himself, but factor in everything that goes with the administration. So you're talking about cabinet, you're talking about all the, like the executive orders or their proclamation, the memorandums, and all that. It's more than just some of the main headlines that you see. There's a lot of other things that go into it, as far as what is going on and what affects everybody's lives. So that's it for me. Like I said, right now we're at the NRA convention, and hopefully we'll have a set of interviews, as far as how many days we'll have on next week. We'll have it all set up on Sunday. So in the meantime, I appreciate everyone listening in, and just want to mention that the Founding Project has launched their Facebook page. So if you just want to know more information about them, just go to the Founding Project, and you can search for their Facebook group or the Facebook page. And I definitely encourage everyone to check them out as they expand and add more to their page, and with their video series as well. So, which is basically talking about bringing civics to citizens and having people to understand the founding documents of, like, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So until, I will say Tuesday, but it might be Monday, depending on how many interviews. So let me just say, until next time, we will chat with you later.